What's the number one thing you should try to do if you want to be successful in this industry? That's easy. Have a whole heap of people who you can aspire to become and to be like, who are doing amazing things already in this space. So when I had the opportunity to interview Sarah Dusick from Under Canvas, I was a little bit giddy. I've been a bit of a super fan of her company for a long time. So, welcome to episode 15 of The Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is The Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. It's really fabulous to have you here. I'm super excited about sharing this interview with you. I was incredibly lucky to land an interview with Sarah Dusick, who is incredibly busy at the moment, and you will find out why in this interview. But she and her company, all headed up by herself and her co-founder husband, Jacob, have found themselves in a big time of change, a big time of transition. And it's very exciting news indeed. And I think a huge indicator of where the industry is going. Such major investment would never happen if the bigger companies with the investment potential weren't absolutely confident about this industry and where it was going, and that it fitted perfectly with what the customer wants and needs and the way that it is all growing for the future. All the way back in 2009, Sarah and her husband found themselves in a bit of a predicament as a result of the financial crisis. They ended up moving to America, and it's probably fair to say that they started from nothing and now they have a multi-million luxury camping and glamping business. And they are about to open a huge number of new sites. This is exciting stuff. So in the interview today, Sarah shares with us her story, the origin story of Under Canvas, and also gives us a few tips about if we were looking for investment, what would we need to be focusing on to make sure we got the investment we needed. So if you are thinking of exploring this market and you have dreams of building something big, this is the interview you need to listen to. I've been following the story of Under Canvas now for so many years because I've been involved in this world myself for quite a few years. And really, so from the very beginning, I've watched you progress from one site to 2 sites and now 8 sites and now investment. It's really quite a staggering journey that you've been on. But as a fellow Brit, how did you find yourself in the USA setting up a really successful luxury camping business and glamping business? Tell me the story around that.
Well, how I ended up in America is I married America. So America wasn't necessarily in my plan, but I met my husband 15 years ago now, and we were both working for nonprofits in the Far East. And his dream was that his dream, not really my dream, but his dream was that we would one day move back to Montana and raise our family. We got married, lived in the UK for a short time, and then the crazy financial crash happened of 2007, 2008, at which point life got really tough financially for us in the UK as we had an earlier business. And we realized, gosh, this is not going to work anytime soon. So Jake saw that as an opportunity to make a move back to the US. So off we trounced with a few suitcases and a 6-month-old baby in tow, and moved back to Montana. And really, his parents were farmers and ranchers, and they still are. And we came back to Montana with not a scrap to our name, other than the suitcases and the baby that we were holding, and really just started to think, how on earth are we going to earn a living? What are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? And we came back to the farm and started to look at, how do we earn a living off the land? How could we earn some incremental living without farming? And that really was the beginning of our glamping journey. And the idea to create a really, really small glamping location on the farm was the beginning of just the small idea of how do you earn run a lifestyle business? How do we make a living off the land? And how do we do something that we love at the same time?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that your catalyst, which was the time of the financial crisis, was exactly my catalyst as well for my business starting. So it's really interesting how so many people have had that as a kind of beginning of something. And do you think that it's actually now grown into something that you're really excited about, and you're so pleased that you were pushed onto this path?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, we love what we're doing now, and it's interesting, isn't it, that how sort of often life does that to you, with sort of seemingly disastrous events happen, and you lose everything or you've got nothing. But it's in those moments that enables us to think bigger, enables us to think outside of the world that we're existing in, and take a risk and do something new and think outside the box that you're living in. And sometimes the world's worst moments for us are our best opportunities for launching out and starting things and pioneering and taking risks and doing all sorts of things we maybe wouldn't have had the courage to do otherwise. And that was certainly true for us. And my goodness, I mean, it was, such an incredible opportunity for us that has allowed us to do some really, really extraordinary, amazing things.
Absolutely. And I love your mission, which is to enrich lives by enabling people to share experiences in the outdoors in comfort and style, which I love that mission. And your sites are located in 8 areas of outstanding natural beauty. So how are you focusing on your environmental principles to support this? Because obviously you want people to enjoy the areas, but you don't want those areas to be impacted in a negative way. So how are you helping to support the nature of where your business is located?
Yeah, when we first started, we were really passionate because it was, it was our own land. It was beautiful, raw, wild landscapes, and we were thinking about, how do we allow people to access this? How do we develop without ruining what we love? How do we preserve and protect, and at the same time allow people access to it? And that was where we started 10 years ago, and everything we've built since then has been just really building on that foundation. And so we have always sought to build our luxury campsites on a premise of leave no trace, so that you effectively could pick them up, and the landscape still look almost exactly like it does today. So maybe with the addition of a few roads and pathways, but basically the landscape is preserved and protected, so that we still maintain its raw nature. We're also using really, really minimal amounts of resources. So in comparison with a sort of similar sized hotel, we would be using about 87% less water. So using really, really small amounts of water, and using small amounts of power. So all our sites are either using a hybrid of solar and grid power, or 100% solar. And they're therefore off-grid. So the amount of power that we're using on site and using renewable energies on site is also pretty impressive. And it's about 84% less power than a same-sized hotel.
Yeah, amazing.
And then our latest initiative is we're on a zero waste journey. So this year our by 2021, this year, our goal with that is to become completely plastic free. And so having no single-use plastics, no plastic in our armor that we're using and operating with on a day-to-day basis. So really taking seriously this idea of, preserving, protecting the planet, creating access to it, and at the same time, thinking about how we build and create something that's sustainable, that is good for today and also great for tomorrow.
Absolutely. And the plastic issue is just enormous. I live on the coast and we have all kinds of plastics washing up on the beaches, and it's quite soul destroying really to see it. And we have the 2-minute beach clean, which we take part in every week. But what kind of things are you doing specifically with your guests to kind of raise awareness of those issues?
Yeah, I mean, education is a really, really big piece of that puzzle, isn't it? Because the more people that are aware, the more people will take ownership of the issue, and the more responsible we will be with our buying habits, our using habits, and how we think about protecting and preserving and recycling. In my mind, we've all been very conscious of recycling. I think it's only sort of very recently, maybe even in the last 6 months, that we're all becoming much more aware of the single-use plastic issue and just how toxic plastic is to our world and our planet, and how we're now going to have to wean ourselves off plastic usage. So that's been something that we've been able to message very clearly at our camps, talk to people about, you won't be able to buy a single-use plastic water bottle, at our camps. We will be selling you reusable water bottles that you can refill, and just clear messaging about that really, and communicating about what's important to us and why it's important. And I guess in addition to that, our mission has been to continually create access for more people to enjoy and experience the outdoors with the belief that the more people experience wild, beautiful, amazing places, the more people will want to care for the environment. And so this year we just concluded it. Actually, we ran a pay what you can campaign. It lasted for a month. That was initiated to create opportunities for those who couldn't afford a vacation, couldn't afford to get outside and be in nature this summer with their families, their children, etc. And try and level the playing field with access issues, on the basis that the outdoors shouldn't discriminate whether you can afford to be in it or not be in it. And for all of our well-beings, we need to be in outdoor beautiful spaces. We need to be in nature. We need to be outdoors. It's healthy. It's good for us, and it makes us more responsible for our planet. And that was a big piece of that initiative for us this year.
Yeah, I've always been singing the tune on Inspired Camping that if we love something, then we'll work really hard to protect it. And
Exactly.
that's my reasoning for inspiring people to be outside. And I love that you're doing that too. And I read on your website that you're supporting some other organisations and charities. And is that what you're talking about there with the children and getting them to come to the camps?
No, it's not actually. We ran a campaign that was initiated by us, that ran for a month, and it was open to anyone. Basically, you had to apply to say to Under Canvas, we can't afford to take a vacation this summer, but here's what we could pay. And that ranged from, we could afford to pay $0 to we could afford to pay $400 or $500. And we gifted hundreds of trips this year to enable people who would otherwise not get a vacation to be able to get outside and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and something probably that every business should have a part of, because it really does help people to bond with nature and each other and reconnect, which we so need these days with everything that's going on in the world. But back to business, you've had huge success with Under Canvas, and I don't know if it's fair to say that you started from nothing and now have a multi-million luxury camping and glamping business. But, well, this is fantastic that you've had all this success. And I don't want to focus on the detail of what's happened recently with your investment and what's been going on with your expansion plans. But I have had some questions questions from my listeners asking about how you actually go about financially valuing your business and get the ball rolling if you want to look at expanding your business and attracting some investors. Is there anything you can give businesses that are listening now, some tips that might help them along their way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Valuing a business is a fairly subjective thing, but there are some very, very clear metrics and easy metrics for people to think about. How do I show and demonstrate value in my business? The easiest metric for someone to understand is a term called our EBITDA metric, which is EBITDA, interest, earnings before interest, depreciation, taxation, and something else. Appreciation. There we go. And that calculation, in simplistic terms, is just your bottom line. It's what's your bottom line number. And businesses are then valued based on a multiplier of that bottom line number. So if you do $10 million of revenue and your bottom line number is $1 million, for example, your business would be worth some kind of metric around that $1 million number. So it might be 3 times that, or 4 times that, or 10 times that, depending on your industry, depending on the business. And every industry has sort of different standard multipliers depending on the industry. But the real key for the business owner is to think about, how am I maximizing my bottom line? How am I showcasing value in my business by showing clean, clear bottom line metrics? And often small businesses, for example, will often have very messy bottom lines, and that the owners will be taking money out and there'll be all sorts of money going for this and all sorts of money going for that. If you are interested in taking investment or interested in selling your business, cleaning up your bottom line is the absolute best way to get the best valuation for your business.
That's really interesting tips. And I think that you have really inspired many businesses with what you've managed to achieve in this industry, which is such a new industry. And so you've really set a benchmark for what is possible for people coming into it. And so really, I'm really interested in your opinion about the industry as a whole. What would you say to somebody who is exploring the idea of setting up something similar to you in any country around the world, but possibly maybe America?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we founded the American Glamping Association last year, was to help provide insight, wisdom, direction for people thinking about creating a glamping business of some description. And the reason for that was thinking about, in my mind, we are going to see a wave of people interested in this space, interested in earning additional income, perhaps on land they've already got or land they might want to acquire. And the interesting component about that is thinking big picture. And for me, as an owner of a large glamping company now, it's become even more important to me that everyone getting into this space thinks about what this industry particularly stands for and what we're about. And therefore being aligned with similar values and similar things that are important as we think about growing this industry and more people becoming part of it and growing glamping organizations. And for me, one of the things we talked about earlier was this idea of sustainability. How do we build organizations that are sustainable? It's really important to me that we think about the glamping industry being known as very ecological, very sustainable, very environmentally friendly. And, that particularly in the season we are in at this period of time with environmental issues, the importance of having an industry that leads the way in this space. And therefore, the Glamping Association is supposed to be a resource for helping people think about that, think about the issues, think about how to do things differently, and how to think about building sustainable businesses that are great financial returns and investment, but at the same time also very green in their thinking and thinking about how we do things and how we do things right from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that the great thing about the association, from what I understand, being in the UK, obviously not America, is the fact that not only are you helping to support the quality of the industry as a whole, but you're also helping to support the owners by giving them support around the all of the restrictions and regulations and everything else that there are many in America. And so I think that's really lovely, that whole, mutual support and also helping to boost the industry as a whole. So a couple of very final questions, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you were looking back to when you first started, what do you wish you'd known before you started your glamping business?
Oh, goodness. There are some things I wish I'm glad I didn't know. I'm glad I didn't know how hard it would be to bootstrap a business, because I think I would have been very daunted by the prospects. But so I'm glad I didn't know quite how tough the mountain climb would be. Although climbing the mountain has definitely been an extraordinary thing. And in terms of the learnings and the knowledge and the experiences that I've had now over the last 10 years because of climbing that mountain have been really, truly extraordinary. I think I wish I would have known. I mean, it's always the case when you do something that you don't know anything about and you're pioneering in a space where you've really got no knowledge. I wished I'd had more advisors. I wished I'd had more input, and that I possibly could have learned some of the hard lessons that we learned the hard way easier and faster. Capital is a really interesting one in that space, for example. I had no idea how businesses raised money. I had no idea about venture capital. I had no idea about how you think about, raising money for your business. Now, all of that was completely new to me. I didn't have an MBA. I hadn't gone to Harvard, for example, or Oxford. It just was not in my vocabulary. And so having somebody alongside me in the early days and saying, this is how you want to think about modeling out your business. This is what it will take to think about raising money for your business at some point in the future would have been very, very valuable. That being said, not having it forced me to build a profitable company, because when you don't have lots of cash to spare, it really defines you with thinking about, we have to make this sustainably profitable. Otherwise, we're not going to exist very long. So that was a plus of not doing that. But certainly, we definitely learned all our lessons the hard way, for sure.
Yeah. So if you had to start again from scratch, what's the first thing you would do? What's the thing that you think would give you the most impact quickly?
I definitely would raise money sooner, for sure. But that being said, you can't do that without a really well-oiled business model that is proven to work. So, really defining my business model sooner is probably what I would have done, and thinking bigger sooner, thinking, outside of my small mindset and thinking big sooner is definitely what I would do if I'm doing this again.
Yeah, it's definitely something in America that I've noticed, that kind of go big or go home kind of thing, and I love that. It's very exciting, and we don't have.
We all underestimate what we're capable of, and we tend to we get trapped in our own mindsets of what we know and what we think we can manage. And one of the great things about being here in the States, you're absolutely right, is the challenge to that does push you to think bigger and think beyond that. And even now, as I look ahead to the future, and to, even what's next for Under Canvas and beyond, I am constantly challenging myself to think bigger than I can today. And that's really scary. But it's so true. If you can dream it, you can make it happen. If you can imagine it, it's possible. It's when we can't imagine it that's not possible. So sort of really continuing to push the envelope with What's the impact I want to have in my lifetime? That's a big driver for me. Beyond building a big business, the reason to build a big business is for impact's sake. What impact can I make with this vehicle that I've been given, this business that I've been given, and what difference can we really make to the world, and how big can I think? What problems can I solve, and what problems can my business solve?
Absolutely. I think it's brilliant, Jess. And so what's next for Under Canvas? I have to ask.
We have lots of expansions underway at the moment. We're currently working on about 15 properties for new locations across the next couple of years. So we have a lot on our plates.
Wow.
We continue to pioneer. We continue to sort of raise the bar, allow our values to dictate what and how we do things, and hopefully drive change.
Oh, that's fabulous news. I'm so pleased to hear it, and I do hope that you come back to Inspired Camping and share it with us there, your new sites, and to give us some more inspirations to our business community. It would be so lovely to hear from you again in the future.
Sounds good.
If you are dreaming of one day owning a luxury camping or glamping business, have you ever wondered what leads one owner to be successful while another one fails? I've been fortunate enough to work with some amazing people over the years who have now launched their own business and are doing wonderful things in this space. But I've always wondered what makes one business succeed while another one fails. So I spent a bit of time identifying the key factors all the most successful business owners had to help people understand if they are cut out to start a glamping business. I wrapped it all up in a fun and informal quiz you can take to find out if you are cut out to run a glamping business. You can take the quiz over at inspiredcourses.com/quiz. So hop on over there and check it out.